Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Aeon Steak bringing you another free-to-play friendly video. Just so y'all know, I am a subscriber, but I feel that if you educate those who are just coming along, they will be of better use to you in the future. Now, this is a new character I'm making, an operative actually, by the end of it. But I figured I'd give you guys a stat breakdown, starting off with the agent. Later on, I will actually show you a video of the assassin stats and how they can vary depending on your class. Now, you've got strength, presence, aim, cunning, endurance, willpower, and expertise. These are the stats you'll be using in Star Wars: The Old Republic. Strength typically has to deal with your melee damage and your melee critical. Presence has to deal solely with your companion. And I'll explain why mine is so high here shortly, as that has to deal with the legacy system and legacy unlocks. Aim has to deal with your ranged attacks. Cunning has, for an agent at least, does add not only to your tech damage, but to your ranged as well. Now, I do have both ranged and tech damage through Cunning. However, if I were to go on my Bounty Hunter and do Aim, it would have ranged and tech power. It's all dependent on what your primary stat actually is. It'll have some extra bonuses, which is what they use to make it more beneficial for you to choose, say, Cunning over Aim as an agent. Because some people may say, well, I'm a sniper, I just need Aim. No, you'll want your Cunning, because you still get your range, but then you got your tech damage. For example, your Explosive Probe, which is one of the first level agent abilities, which can be used while in cover. It creates a probe, and the next shot against that target causes it to explode. But you have endurance, which has to do with your max health and your regen. Your willpower, which has to do with your force damage and force critical chance. Then you have expertise, which is dedicated solely to PvP. Now, quick breakdown, like from an agent perspective, the only stat you want to primarily focus on is Cunning. However, depending on which path you take, there is a thing called min-maxing, and Datacrons help with that. Now, because I'm going operative and I'm going melee, lethality, I do believe, it's been a while and I haven't slept in a little bit, but I'll be dealing primarily melee attacks. So, strength actually would be beneficial for me. However, I would never stack strength, because I get more of a benefit for my melee attacks from using my Cunning and my Vibro Knife. Now, when it comes to min-maxing, however, this is when you can go and get all your Datacrons, and most people are like, well, why do I need the strength Datacron? Well, one, you get the experience. If you're a lower monger, you get the Codex entry, but also that melee damage bonus will help add up over time to, say, your Shiv ability, which is a melee ability. Or, for example, if I were to get the Aim Datacrons, it would actually benefit my Snipe, even though I'm an operative. I'll never be using Snipe unless it's like just to screw around or for fun or something. So, anyways, primary stat of the Warrior/Jedi Knights will be Strength. Aim will go to your Commandos and your Bounty Hunters. Cunning to your Smugglers and your Agents. Endurance is a secondary stat for anybody, because the more endurance you have, the more likely the better your ability to survive in a battle. And also, if you're ever going to be a tank, endurance a lot of times may very well outdo your strength or your aim, depending on your class. Because as a tank, you need to be able to survive, but you never want to neglect your strength or your aim. I say strength or aim because the tanks are the Commandos, the Bounty Hunters, the Juggernauts, and the Knights, and going with their respective tanking class and tanking tree. There's no tank class that actually primarily uses Cunning. Well, hold on, let me think about that one. Because the Sith Assassin will actually use willpower. I don't know of a class that uses Cunning for a tank. So, but I don't know much about Republic classes. I never play Republic. They suck. But as a Sith Assassin, your primary stat is going to be willpower, but you still want to try and focus on endurance as much as possible. If you go darkness. If not, you want to max willpower. And then willpower is, of course, for the Inquisitors and the Consulars. Then if you're a heavy PvPer, you want to do expertise. Now, level 10 through 49 PvP, expertise will be it can be very noticeable, but most people aren't going to have it unless they get specialized stuff. For example, you can actually buy, with your Warzone comps, sub 50 equipment and rip the mods out, which those are the only one of the few ways you can get pre-50 expertise mods. Let me just pull up my PvP section here. Now, I don't have any expertise, so it's all going to be 0. However, when you hit level 50, expertise is everything in a Warzone, so don't neglect it, because it'll reduce how much damage you take, how much healing it'll increase how much healing you receive, and how much damage you actually do. Now, let me make sure I covered everything. That's your main stats right there. Now, the reason my presence is so high, I promise I'd explain that, is because once you get a human character to level 50, or you spend the 600 cartel points, or you got the legacy level and you spend the 500,000 credits, you gain a plus 100 presence to all characters. And that's the initial 100 that I have. I also got my class default, but also, as you level your companions and get their affection up and do all of their abilities, you will get these little slots unlocked. This gives you a retroactive plus 10 bonus to all characters. However, this only applies to one companion each type. For example, my healing, I've got the one for the healing companion, and I've also got the one for the melee damage companion. You've also got a ranged damage companion, a ranged tank companion, and a melee tank companion, which can give you a total bonus of about 50. Bear with me just a second, cuz. And actually, you can get plus 10 presents for all of these, all 5 characters. The only thing that applies to one per each companion type is the bonus to your heroic moment. Your heroic moment, you can only get up to 5 reductions or increases to it. As you can see here, by unlocking Mako, it increases my total healing received while this companion is out. It also increases the duration of my heroic moment by 12 seconds and reduces the cooldown by 1 minute. Can only receive that bonus to one healer companion. Unlock applies to all characters in your legacy, which now is making it like my healing received is actually increased, because it used to be that was character only and maybe account wide now. So, because I've got one character of each, I do receive a 2-minute cooldown reduction on heroic moment. However, I cannot get below a 15-minute cooldown time on heroic moment, but I can get the 12-second increase up to 5 times for each companion. And then that's what the Republic screen looks like. You can tell I never play Republic, which is fine. Just see if there's anything else I need to go over there. Anyways, as you can see here, my main thing is going to be my tech, because that's going to be all my stuff for an operative. As you can see here, this is my bonus damage. It gives you your breakdown. As a tank, you will want to have some power, because the more damage you do, the more threat you're going to have. As a DPS, power is going to add to the overall effect. However, as you get up in higher level, there's going to be other stats you're going to have. Then, as you can see here, power affects both damage and healing. Accuracy. You start off with your basic accuracy being 100%. Any tech attacks that have over, that get a bonus save through talents to the accuracy, even though listed as 100% here, they will actually be over 100%, and it can reduce their resistance to their attack. So, if you're, say, a Marauder / a Sentinel, there's actually a tree that is dedicated to having very high accuracy and armor penetration, if that's your playstyle. Crit chance, as you can see, I have a very low crit chance right now. And crit chance is increased through what's called your crit rating. Then your crit multiplier, which will, whenever you crit hit or crit heal, the damage you do or health restored is increased by this %. So if you have a higher surge rating, when you crit, you're going to crit harder. And that's just specific to my class. That's my energy regeneration rate. Activation speed is adjusted by alacrity. It reduces whatever time you need to activate or channel an ability, so you can execute it more quickly. For example, Force Lightning on an Inquisitor, say it channels after over 3 seconds. if you have a high alacrity and it can channel in, say, 1.5 seconds, you're doing all that damage a lot quicker, thus having an overall increase in DPS. Range, as you can see here, gives me my basic weapon stats. Then it gives me my bonus damage. As you can see, aim does affect it, however, and cunning affects it too. Aim gives me about the same amount as cunning does. However, again, with an agent, for example, cunning also gives me a bonus to my tech damage and tech crit. Then, as you can see, my accuracy. My basic attacks always have, by default, have a 90%. My special attacks have 100%. This is by default, starting off level 1, and that'll change with talents, skills, abilities, whatever you have. As you can see, here's my crit chance, which aim does increase it, as well as my cunning. Then you have my crit multiplier. Now, I do have an added benefit that with this character, they have, by default, agents have the crit hit chance by 5% increase for 60 minutes. So that is always useful. As you can see, my damage actually just went up because I had all the buffs except for the market power now. Because I have completed, where's that section? At least Act 2 for both the Inquisitor and the Bounty Hunter. Whenever I use this, whenever I use any of my buff abilities, me and everybody in my party will automatically get at least Hunter's Boon and Market Power, which increases my strength, aim, willpower, and cunning by 5%, reduces internal and elemental damage by 10%, and then a 5% increase to endurance. However, because I'm an agent, I also have the added effect of getting a 5% increase to crit chance. Now, if I were to have an agent or a warrior up to past Act 2, and I were to get on the other character respectively, I could have all 4 buffs. So it's very beneficial to try and get characters to at least past Act 2 before you start an alt, because it makes it so much easier. That's one of the benefits I like about Star Wars The Old Republic. They make it very easy and a lot less stressful for you to make an alt, because they give you so many ways to make leveling it so much easier than your first time around. As you can see, Unnatural Might, or the Force Might, increases your damage and healing by 5%. Anyways, this is a nice little stat breakdown. Before I forget some of these. Defense, the more armor you have, it'll increase your energy and kinetic resistance by a certain percent. Defense chance is your chance to avoid, and that's all going to vary. Unfortunately, this is not going to be a complete defense screen. I would have to have a tank, which actually I do, and I will log on to him just in a few seconds for you all to see. But social is what you get for doing group activities, and can access some social type abilities, such as the sleeve bikini, if you would like that. Some guys like that, some guys don't. I can understand the underwear, but I mean, come on. Anyways, and then Valor. Valor is what you get from war zones. The higher your Valor, the better access to equipment you're going to have. The higher the Valor, the better it's going to be. For every 10 Valor, you'll actually get a new title. As you can see, I only got 2 titles. One is from Class Specific, the other is because I am an actual founder. I was one of the first subscribers to Star Wars The Old Republic. Anyways, just to give you another idea, I will log out here and I will show you my alt. You guys will recognize her from the PvP matches. Please say hello. I should have warned you guys, if you do not like spoilers, don't read this. I keep forgetting it gives you a nice little brief overview of where you're at every time you log back in. I don't normally pay it attention, that's why I keep forgetting about it. Eventually I will load here. Got a pretty great machine, but it's been running slow lately. I'm going to have to take it through a cleaning phase. Just wipe a lot of stuff out. Preferably without doing a full clean install, but I will if I have to. This is a common glitch I've been having lately. It says my interface cannot be loaded. I just go back, click it, my interface is loaded. Anyways, just to give you an idea. Now instead of tech for this character, I actually have force. As you can see, shows you how my willpower, my surge, and all this affects it. Now, going to defense, because I have a shield generator equipped, this is when you have your shield chance and shield absorption. Now, here you can see my damage reduction, based off of your armor and your defense rating. Correction, defense rating has to do with defense chance. I knew that before I even highlighted this, but your defense chance is your dodge, your parry, and all that from the game that shall not be named. However, depending on the style of tank you are, it'll determine which kind of mod you're going to have. For example, absorption has to deal with how much your shield will absorb when your shield triggers, and your shield chance is determined by your shield rating. There's actually a soft cap for all, so that actually you will not be specializing primarily in one. You will be focusing on all four of them: damage reduction, your defense chance, shield chance, and shield absorption, in order to become a more effective tank. And yes, I finally got a relic, even though it's very vaguely useful, but I still got one. I need to go hunting for my last shard so I can actually make my own relic, but as you can see, my endurance is significantly higher than my willpower. As you can see, my willpower in this case does increase my melee and my force damage, whereas on if I were to go to a warrior, my force power increase would be under strength as well, making strength that beneficial one, and willpower would only be force damage and force critical. So, hope you guys enjoyed this quick little breakdown on the stats and how they work. Give you a nice little idea of what it's like at some different levels. Matter of fact, I will now show you guys a level 50 tank. He is not fully geared. He is in recruit / column I gear. Maybe a piece of black hole. Yes, that helmet looks completely horrible. I know, but what can I say? When you first hit level 50, all your favorite stuff, most of the time you're probably not going to be using until you can actually get the mods to make it worthwhile. The recruit gear is very, very useful. Even if you're going to be doing nothing but flashpoints, hard modes, the recruit gear that you get from hitting level 50, because you can get a whole set of level 50 gear, it is good enough for you to go and do hard modes, tier 1 hard modes. It's going slowly. I don't know why, no matter how well of a machine I build, no matter how great the specs are, for some reason my loading is always like this. And it kinda hangs up. Eight core, 3.20 gigahertz processor, 8 gigs of RAM. Anyways, this will give you some idea of some level 50 stats. Some Battlemaster, Column I. Oh yeah, Black Hole boots. Yeah. So I do have them. Anyways, as you can see, the stats will increase significantly over time. As you can see, aim actually does my ranged and tech, whereas cunning just does my tech. Why is this important? Tech abilities. Flamethrower is tech. It is not. It is ranged, but it's a technology ability. So, jet charge, shoulder slam. I really wish I could increase the time that'll stun people. Carbonize is awesome, especially when you're in a PvP match. Just go, whoop, and everybody's frozen for 2.5 seconds. Great way to annoy people. Anyways, hope you enjoyed this stat breakdown. And actually, I'll show you one more thing real quick before I close out the video. As you can see, the higher your social and the higher your value goes, the significant amount more it takes to level it. Social 1 takes 10, Social 2 takes 750, Social 3, as you can see, takes a lot. Valor itself, as long as you can perform somewhat decently and perform your class well, you can get 1500 to 3000 Valor easy. So raising your Valor is not hard. Really, about at lower levels it takes one war zone to level it once, and then it'll probably take around 2. Then as you get higher level, it'll take around 3 to 4. It doesn't take that many war zones. Valor's pretty easy to raise up. But oh, I've got some expertise that I can show you guys. Because I'm using a lot of recruit gear, I still have some expertise on here. My expertise rating is actually 672 without the rest of the recruit gear on. As you can see, gives me a 14.39% increase in my damage, reduces damage I take in PvP by 12.58%, and increases the healing that I would do if I were a healer by 7.86%. Which brings me up to one more point that I would like to make in every single one of my videos, which is why I have not been able to release a good PvP video as of late. Gank the healers. Word of advice, always gank the healers. So those of you who don't know what the term gank means, it means you go and you kill that guy. Why? Because you healers are evil in PvP unless you're on my team and you actually heal. Then I love you. But if you're on my opposing team, I hate you. And I will go after you. Secondarily, primary is making sure nobody captures the objective. Secondarily, healer, you are mine. So make sure you always go for the healers. That's my word of advice for the day. This has been another video giving you a breakdown of the stats. I'll be releasing some videos here later showing you the first 6 Datacrons. That would be the 3 on Korriban and the 3 on Huddam. You all have a nice night, and hopefully the sound quality does a lot better for this video, because on my system everything sounds fine, everybody else is complaining. So please leave your comments on how the sound is working. Y'all have a good night.